Well, welcome to the Dream Labs. Dr. Contrast Live here. I hope all is well. And just thought I'd take a quick moment here and go back and just discuss little things that we did yesterday. In yesterday's stream, we did a series of Dremel sketches using a Micron pen like I'll be using today, a 02 level pen, and also a little bit of marker work here. But I thought we'd take a look at maybe doing some concept sketches or ideation sketches on an iPhone series. And then I realized it's a very restrictive surface to deal with. You've got a rectangular form with glass and very, very minimal surfaces. But I'm just wondering sometimes if we put a little bit more aesthetic into it, maybe change a little bit of the shape, add a little bit more graphics to it if we can in some areas, and go through just a series of real rapid little thumbnail sketches like we did yesterday to kind of put together a story for some iPhone. So let's get started here with just a series of real rapid sketches, and I'll start with some pen, add a little bit of marker, and just kind of go through some variations on a theme and try to put some graphics together. Maybe it's surface work, maybe it's an add-on, maybe it's an applique, but we'll look at just the generate a series of studies that under the category of what if we could do some changes to an iPhone, a little more form in the glass. Maybe it's a little rounder, maybe it's some more, maybe it's got a different shape on it in some cases. They're very minimal surfaces. Of course, you can't change too much because you've got a plate to work with and a very sophisticated network of computerized systems inside the system to run it. But again, just the opportunity to maybe make some changes on the graphics. So maybe it's a case surface, or maybe it's an applique or an embellishment on the skin itself. So here we go. Let's put some sketches together here. Let's kind of go through some things here. Just real loosely lay in the frame. Get this guy started. A little slimmer, a little more form to it, a little bit of shape. It's nice and easy. Come back through the center line. Maybe add a little bit of a dart. There and there. Radius that off just a bit. Come back around this off just a bit. We'll just start there with just some sort of little bit of an offset here too, just a little bit of a valley in the form here to kind of break the sequence up. And up in the corner, some of the camera systems. Again, real loose, just looking at exploring skins and so forth. Maybe that elevation changes to, if this is ground zero here, for example, maybe the skin is up and it just kind of crowns back on itself, a little more tapered to it, a little bit of an offset there, and then just does that. Kind of a nice little profile. And we get the glass to form just a bit on the baseline. This is obviously ground. This would be zero here, obviously. And then just a little bit more shape on top of that thing to kind of get that thing to read for a little bit. Now let's go back and a little bit more perspective here. Just kind of frame it in. A little more surface to it. Radius. Soften it off just a bit. A little bit more taper to this thing on the back side. There we go. Let's radius this off. Carry that through. And just slim it up just a bit on the other end here. Let's just kind of go so a little bit more taper. So that does that. Again, let's go back and look at this thing. There's that center line. Let's come back and through and just give that a little more of a dart again. Come back to that same basic theme. Run it over the edge. And just recess it just a bit. And it gives a little bit more, just a touch more detail right in there. Just roll it over the side here just a bit. Camera. Just interesting little thumbnails. Moving the pad around just a bit. Roll it underneath. We'll put a little bit of drawing here together and come back in and put a little bit more emphasis on putting some tone and work into it here. Let's go back and another little thumbnail here. No, a little rounder in this guy. Let's round this shape off just a bit more. Again, take that into play. Run it across, come right down through the center line. Let's add a disc in this thing. Maybe it's a surface applique, and roll that out with some sort of a chevron. There it is. Roll that out, come back to that, a little bit of a chevron. Just some interesting form studies here. Let's end it with that. Erase this here, a bit of horizon line on it. And again, adding just maybe a single and a double camera look here. Whoops, there we are. Just again, this real rapid little thumbnail sketches here to kind of go through the process. And I really enjoy the fact that when you go through an ideation process, oftentimes we get caught up in trying to do an awful lot of surface work and a lot of detail work. But I think the main thing that I'm looking for here in this program today, in this stream today, is what we did yesterday, just to kind of capture a really good essence of a theme sketch. And very lucid, very quick. Not a lot of detail, just looking for character or personality. Is there a way, for example, we can kind of deal with this thing and make it a little bit more intriguing? So let's try this again, and I think there is. It's a bit of a stretch in some areas, but again, that's what concept work is all about, taking chances and looking at the possibilities of what's going to take place. Again, a little bit rounder, and again, maybe just coming across this guy with a little bit of an offset here. Let's come back in again. Changing the graphics. Yeah, just a little bit of maybe it's a texture change or a color change. That might be enough to do it right there. We put a camera here, and again the camera there, and just enough of that little scallop right there to give us, and then maybe something through the middle of this guy too, just to kind of split it up, just that to that. And maybe that's graphics. It kind of separates, makes it look like it floats, for example, a little more airiness to it instead of being so rectangular and rigid here. Just kind of go through it again. Let's go back into here. A little overhead view. And get that form in. Basic platform is there. The body of the form itself coming in. And again, just a bit more beef in this thing. Just roll it out of there. That's that. And then again, same system, but we reverse the scallop. A little more geometric here. And maybe that comes down and just rolls over the side of the form itself. And then maybe there's a little bit of an offset here too. Just enough of a change in the wedge here, just to kind of kick it in. Slight little depression right there. Let's make sure that comes in. Just going to knock this down just a little bit of tone in this guy. So it does that. Then again, we come back in with this and this. And just roll that up. There's a couple of nice little, maybe 2, 4, 5, maybe 6 little sketches here. Let's put a frame in this thing. And just kind of rotate through. Give ourselves a frame of reference. There's a package of little thumbnail quick sketches that maybe deal with this whole iPhone process. So let's kind of look at these from the point of view of maybe adding a bit of tone to them. Let's put a little bit of marker to these guys. Let's put a little bit of surface in place here. So we come up with a little bit of texture change here. A little bit of a pass through. A bit of a tone change here. Just enough to keep it really reflective. And let's see, let's go back through this. And this little guy, add a little bit of value to this guy. Maybe a surface change on the body side itself, and that's it. Maybe this has a little bit of color to it. Let's kind of put a little bit of tint in this thing too. A little bit of sky coming back into it. There you go. Just enough. Just bleed. Just enough in that. And put more tone in this, a little darker. And that's it. Let's go back to that. Let's go back in through here and pick up that same process here. Let's get that little bit of an offset. Leave a little bit of space there for highlight, and then take it down to the shape itself. Just break that in, and come right down the body side of the form. And just kind of, again, the light source coming from the upper portion of the sketch. Tone it away. A little paper on the highlight, run that right through. And again, just a little bit of drama, the highlight to run through here. Maybe just a touch more on the other side here, just to kind of pass it across the top of the form itself. A little more animation. And run it off the page. Give a little more freedom to it, a little bit of accent. Just very simple little studies like so, coming in. And maybe it's a simple matter of coming down to a little darker in this guy. Let's do this. Let's come back and get a little more tone in this thing here. And the whole idea here is just to get a very simple feel for maybe making some real subtle changes in some of these forms, just enough shape in these things to kind of take it away from being rectangular, a little more form to it, a little more streamlined essence to it. And let's get that corner down just a bit, run this in. Along the top, along that edge. Wanting to highlight there and right through the shape itself. Now a little bit more, maybe a little bit more tone in through this. Indicate where that a little bit of an offset is. Just enough in there to kind of take it off center. Let's turn this upside down. Put a little bit of shadow on this guy, just enough to take it away from sitting on the surface. Just take it over. Catch a little bit of that corner. And again, just a touch here. Real light shadow. Let me turn this upside down. Get more line thrust in here. There we are. That's better. And just a real bit of a thick line on this side to kind of settle it down just a bit. Not a lot of interest, but just enough to take it, just another step in the process here. Just kind of put this into play here. Recess that just a bit. Same thing up on top here, just a touch. And again here. And that lens itself. A little more line weight. Touch of an offset. And again, just a simple series of almost transparent glass-like or very vaporous type sketches to kind of get some character down here about what we're dealing with and getting this iPhone series. It'd be a little more cosmetic and less austere in terms of being rectangular, just really quick little sketches. Let's go back into this guy. Tune it down just a bit. Let's get those lenses in place first. We'll knock those guys out. Camera areas here. Let's take the number 1 gray and just kind of go real softly with this thing. Just kind of add a little bit of impact into it here. Real quick passes, just an offset here. And get the highlight to rate on that form, just enough, just to give a little more body to it. And come right across the shape itself and just put a little more of a dart in this thing. One more passing through here. And we'll just take that shadow side and kick it the other way here, just enough to drop that shadow out there with this guy right here. This into this. A bit of an offset in through here. And well, we've got it up. Tone this thing in just a touch. Go fast, quick, expressive sketches just to kind of lay it down here for a minute. I'm going to try something else here. Let's try this. Put a bit of tone in this guy. This is one solid piece, but to make it give it a little bit more dimension, as if it were floating off the surface when you lay it down. Maybe a dark accent in there. That's kind of neat. Right? Just kind of just let that sit in there like so. That's it. And put that same emphasis right in the lens itself, just to indicate where they might go. And there we are, there and there. And right back into some drawing here. As we said yesterday, really strong emphasis placed on this whole idea of getting a concept down is one thing, but a lot of it really depends on coming back and refining it with a lot of sketch work. Let's break that through. And let's let that go just like that. Let's let this last little study in through here. And the camera lens. And again, this is maybe a bit of a chevron change. So again, a little bit of an offset here. With this butterfly, this wing to work. And again, there's a little bit more tone in this thing. Very simple. And again, just a simple little pass there. We're getting some real neat thumbnail sketches. Basic rectangular, putting a little bit of shape or difference of change into it. For example, on the back side where this could be a case, for example. It could be the actual lens itself. Let's do this. Let's go a little bit bolder with this offset here. It's going to knock that right out. More punch. There you are. Give it a definite offset. It could be a pattern change or a texture change. Color designation of some sort. Maybe there's a family of certain colors that are offered. And again, a little more tone underneath. This almost gives it a floating sense of just a little more of a breakdown in the form itself. Maybe this guy has this. Wouldn't that be neat if you did something, for example, where you actually took that and developed a series of, let me borrow just a stick here for a second. I'll grab a pencil. Wouldn't it be interesting if in one of those cases, for example, if you did almost like a vehicle study, we actually let this become part of an automotive piece here. Just a little bit of highlight in that guy, a little bit of pencil work. Same thing through here. Maybe this becomes like a Bentley of some sort. You know, maybe it's a designated cell phone that you purchase with a vehicle, and it becomes a Bentley product in this case. That could be that part of it, and just put more outline in this thing, so we can see what that's going to look like. Put a little bit of recess in here. Highlight it out just a little bit. And again, let's get this guy to just kind of settle down just a bit more. There's baseline here. There's offset line. A little bit of a shape change. And last but not least, maybe just a little bit of offset here. Give a bit of a background. Just to kind of separate them off the page just a bit. Excuse me. So there we are. Just a nice little series of little family of sketches there to kind of give ourselves a background, a little bit of an instance into some of these, pardon me, these concept sketches for some iPhones. And let's just sign this guy. And again, we'll move on just a little bit. Just again, I'm really trying to concentrate on just getting some good line work down, some sketchy character to it. Looking at basically breaking up the form. Is it cosmetic? Can we go a little rounder with it? Can we actually put some dark change into it? Some surface changes. Just interesting formats to look at here. So there's sketch number one. Let's go back in and grab another one here. We'll just keep going here with the same basic theme. Let's go back in here. Walk right through it, and I notice nice and loose. Nothing's really pinned in yet. Just gonna look at getting the shape down. Now we kind of break this off. Let's put a little bit of that same process. Let's get underneath this thing. Now let's break it again, like we did in that previous sketch. Just a little bit more of a lift in this thing. Now that's not an undercut. That could be a graphic change. Let's find the center line on this thing. Run it through. Again, let's go back into that almost chevron line. That's kind of interesting, but extend it this time down to the base of the actual phone itself. Come back, turn this over, pardon me. Run it right through. Now let's offset it. And again, on this side, let's run it through and offset it. Oh, there we are. Let's radius this off just a bit. Radius that just a bit. And again, let's put that deep core in here. Let's get that shadow in there first. Let's get this. This is not an undercut. This is an actual, this is a surface piece. That it's actually part of the body of the form of the pennants of the phone itself, but it's just an offset, like a graphic change to give it the appearance that it's floating. So it's kind of knocked that out of there. for a nice simple stain in there. Get that down. Again, let's get that disc to work. Offset that. Again, come out of it. On the shadow side, and pick up the same kind of surface, just a little bit less of it on the other side here. Again, let's get this through. Pick up on the shadow side of this guy. Put a little bit of tone in the middle of this thing, like a little texture offset of some sort. Break that back, a little bit of highlight across the top of this thing, and then just get that base to read a little bit here. It's going to offset this just a touch more on the shadow side of the form. And again, just a simple little melodic sketcher. There it is, just to give us enough information on what that form is actually doing here. And let's kind of go back in, a little bit of highlight in this thing, or shadow. Let's drop this off. This is not a recess as much as it could be a decal or an applique. It's placed right on the top of the phone to give the impression that it's got some dimension, but it really does not. Again, here's an automotive designation. Very private looking Bentley cell phone and so forth. They got a little bit of graphics up on. Hey, how you doing, Chip? How's everything? Good to have you on board here. Just doing a series of little ballpoint, or pardon me, micron pen sketches and some bit of marker work on some cell phone systems here, iPhones. So interesting little series of sketches here, Chip. I'm just looking at possibilities of putting graphic appliques or some surface change into these things to give a little more character to it. I realize we're working with a very restrictive palette here. Very simple things in terms of, you can't go a lot of, it's basically a rectangular form, but maybe put a little more applique to it, maybe more shape or change to it. And I started the first series of sketches here, just going through a little thumbnail set of possibilities in it. It's a jet-powered phone. Yeah, so far so good, you're in. But again, just trying to follow up on what we did yesterday, Chip, when we went through those Dremel sketches where we were just with a ballpoint, with a pen rather, micron pen, a bit of marker, a little bit of zip added to it, a little bit of color change, and just picking up on that same theme of learning how to develop very quick and rapid sketches, putting ideas down. Now I realize an iPhone is a very difficult thing to work with because you've got very severe restrictions in terms of glass surfaces, componentry, packaging, and the like. But it doesn't mean, for example, you guys start developing some surface changes. It could be subtle or minor, or even case studies. For example, putting a case around it could have some of these graphics involved in it. So that was the purpose of this pursuit today, just to have fun with developing idea sketches like we did yesterday with the Dremel. So we started here with that form, and just a simple little studies here. Let's see if we can put a little bit more. Let's put a little more tone in this thing, a little bit more interest, a little bit of sky color in this guy. Just kind of take it away from being. There we are. The more reflective in terms of glass. That's it. Some of this, just a little more on that side. Just really very quick little thumbnail sketches just to kind of give it some personality. So how you doing, Chip? Everything okay on your end of life? It's cool. Let's go back and keep some more concept here. Just open this up a bit. Let's go the other way. Release that. Let's get that same offset in there to kind of give the appearance that it's a floater, even though it's not. Let's come back and turn. Let's put that same piece right there. Come off of this corner. Same process. A little bit of a wedge in it. Kind of open, go the other direction with this thing. I'm off work for the day, so it's all, hey, good deal. I did run out of chocolate. you gotta supply the chocolate, man. That's firing up stuff right there, worth its weight in gold right there, Chip. So let's go back in and just kind of put some graphics very quickly in these guys to go through some real rapid sketches. A bit of a marker change, give the appearance that it's a floater, but it's just that little color offset on the side of the phone itself. That very strong disc area up on top here. Let's take that through. Let's take that through. And at the same time, let's come back in and get a really good pattern set here. Let's open this up. I mean, notice how quickly I'm working with this marker. I'm not spending a lot of time filling things in or I'm just being very fluid with it and extremely quick and lucid here. So let's kind of go back and just pick that up a little bit there. Let's get it down to number 3. A little more of an offset in through here. Maybe some more change of pace on that side. There it is there. Kind of filled it in a little bit more. Get that highlight to run through. Actually stain it in. Let's do that. Let's get that separated here. Let's get, yeah, that's much better. Let's do that. Let's go back and get this pass one more time here. A little more impact in this disc. There it is. Again, the escape portion here coming out of it. A little thumbnail, real quick little theme sketches here, Chip, on just putting together a story. Again, same process. Just put a bit of that sky color in this thing. Hey! Tara Joel, how are you? How you doing? Thank you very much for following. Good to have you on board, Tara Joel. Interesting. Thank you, sir, or ma'am. Very good. Let's put a bit of tone in here. And just really, really quick stuff. Just get enough information in this guy to really make it kind of sing. So let's go back in and put more definition in it. Break it off. End this up just a bit. In fact, it might be kind of nice to just go real full cycle and say, you know, let's really kind of drop this thing out here. Let's make this thing appear like it's really floating. Let's do it. A little more reflective disc in here. Let's put a little more tone back into this thing and separate it just a bit more. Shadow side into this. Turn this thing up a little bit, turn upside down. A little more crown in this thing. And I think the important thing about this little theme here, that's not really an undercut. That's just a texture change to make it appear. Doing good, though. Thanks. Great work. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Good to have you on board. Or any questions at all that come up, feel free to just ask and carry away here. We'll keep moving with this thing. Just kind of put a little bit of tone in this thing. Again, quick sketches. Notice, again, just to undercut this thing, a more form to it. Maybe it has a little bit of center line break in it. That kind of rolls over the top and does that. A little more radius in here. Let's put a little more animation on this body side. We're just kind of scribble in here, just some little things here. Just give it some indication here. And we'll kick up that pencil. More definition. Just enough that there's something about this whole process that kind of streamlines some things here. That really interesting how it all begins to generate in terms of keeping your sketches lucid and quick, and being able to come back in. And this kind of changes. Come back in and define them later. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here as and putting a lot of detail in. I want to just get a strike down and a concept in, and then begin to work it from there. Just going to darken this up just a bit here, get a little more impact to it. It's always interesting to me. Let's kind of knock this out too. Make it really matter. It's going to drop that shadow in here. Some more of that. Yeah, a little bolder. That's much better. There it is. And it's just getting real strong with this, really interesting shape. Let's go back in and reinforce this guy. Let's just add a little more value to it. Let's kind of balance it back just a bit more. On the shadow side, let's put more tone in this thing. Kind of take it away. Up into the highlight along that form. Let's gray this off just a bit more, kind of subdue it. Again, just passing in. Notice, really not spending a lot of time. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've always really felt, for example, working with marker, especially this stuff, Copics. Marker is nothing more than a wet pencil. So work very quickly with it, be very diligent with it, and boy, all of a sudden it pays off tremendous dividends. But when you slow it all down, it gets really flooded. it becomes extremely difficult to deal with and work through. So, again, very, very fast, rapid little sketches here. So what happens if we did this? Go back in a little more definition here. Let's go back in. Another variation of the same form. Let's draw through this guy. Notice, really, really quick and fluid here. Up and over it. Now let's change it. Let's really kind of get a little more sophisticated here. Let's go back into this. Turn the corner. Now let's turn the corner on this guy just a bit. Let's kind of reverse the impact here. Hey, Chip Treadwell, the doc has done some unofficial design of a spaceship. Once he also designed a G12 Origin. Yeah, thanks very much, Chip, for bringing that up. And Terajol, I hope that Terajol, have you ever made a spaceship design concept? Maybe you know the space game. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Terajol, I did a whole did a live program last year on Star Citizen material, doing a transporter for vegetation, interplanetary space exploration, and systems. So I did a 3-hour program on that, and I've done a lot of different things like G12. I've done some interjection Star Citizen fighters. Pretty familiar with a lot of that work. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for responding too, Chip. Sorry I missed your question there, Terry Joel. Are you an industrial design individual, or are you a Star Citizen person yourself? Very cool. Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, we're going to do another program, and I'm thinking about another 10 days on another program. We're going to do, I think we're going to do an interdiction system or a fighter live for 3 hours on a program. So we'll keep you posted as that date comes together here. So once again, hey, very good. So am I. It's great stuff. Star Citizen's really inspiring material to work with. I really enjoyed it. I went through school with, I don't know if you've heard of Sid Mead, but Sid Mead was my drawing instructor for all 5 years when I was at CCS. And Sid was very much involved in doing illustration work for 2001: A Space Odyssey, Star Wars, oh, good grief, Star Trek, all these individuals, just a really interesting individual and a good friend over the years, tremendous industrial designer out of California. So that's my so-called experience level here. And I came out of General Motors design staff for 12 years, where I was a director of design there for 12 years for Corvette, Cadillac, overseas operations, Opel, and so forth. I had a lot of experience in the automobile business. So. But I really enjoy being on Twitch and getting people like yourself to join forces. So thank you so much for joining us here, Terry Joel. I hope you're having fun as much fun as I'm putting these sketches together. And again, these are hypothetical studies based on what would happen if we could take an iPhone and do a little more cosmetic change to it. And just little subtle changes like radius and flatten things out and the like. So pretty interesting. We can say the doc has been around the block. Yeah, I've been around the block. Old age, Chip, you're right. Let's go back and do a little illustration work here. Going to put, again, a little more impact in this guy. A little bit of highlight there for that edge change. We'll come back and get that in a moment. Running out of juice on that guy. So let's go ahead and switch gears and grab another one here, and so we can get a real good tone process working here. There we are. There we go, much better. Just stain that in, maybe go to the other side here, just a little bit darker on the accent. Run that through. Stop it there. Take that over the edge. Run the highlight through just a bit. Again, let's just take this out, knock this down just a bit. It leaves us with a little bit of a root here. It's going to put that back in place. Let's run that through. Let's take the lighter surface here. Just kind of tone it in. Just neat little passes here. Chips there. You can see the dot. Yeah. Again, I want you to notice how quickly I'm working with this marker. Yeah, I'm making commitments. I'm really kind of moving quickly for the benefit of keeping it nice and sketchy, so it doesn't block things in or get really muddied up. Just nice and loose. Very simple. Again, a little more reflective quality in this thing. Yeah, let's put a little bit of an accent piece in here. A little more sky tone through that form. And one more pass in here with a little bit of this. We've got a good family of forms going here, gang. A lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying this and making sense for you. Let me know if it is. I'm gonna go right at it here. Let's put a little bit of highlight along this edge. Carry that through. Let's carry that through. And get that highlight on there. And again down here. There's another family of forms there again, just nice and easy. Looking at the possibility of getting some graphic changes, for example, surface or color breakup and so forth on these iPhones. Just again, really the quick looses, like we did yesterday. Again, going back to those Dremel sketches where we really laid down really interesting. We put it all together in terms of a rapid sketch, a little bit of marker added, put a little bit of body to it, and then off we went. And not getting a lot of again, today's stream is looking at, like we did yesterday, looking for themes or direction or ideation. Interesting things to work with here. Hey, thanks very much, Chip. I appreciate it. Terjo, you still there? Is this making sense for you? Am I going too quickly, or so far so good? Let me know how we're doing there. Let me just put a little bit of background in this thing. Let's put a little frame behind it, and we'll kind of come in here. Put that through. That's that. We'll take that lightest gray, for example, that number 1, and just put a little bit of backdrop in here. Put a bit of a base on this guy, just kind of settle it just a bit. Pardon me, turn this thing around here. And just grab the shape just a little bit more with a shadow. Step this up. Tells the viewer there's a little bit of an offset right in that little offset area right there. But since I joined pretty much in the middle of it, I can't really put the pieces together. Oh, okay. What would you like me to review here? Terjol, you still there? What did you miss, for example? I started out, I'll just hold back here and wait for your response here. I'm sorry, you joined pretty much in the middle of it. I can't really put the pieces together. In what sense? How do you mean putting the pieces together, so I can help you here? Let me just kind of detail the shadow just a bit more. We're waiting for your response. There's Joel, there you are. And a little more fill in here. And let's call that a day right there. So let's do this one more time up on top here. That little frame to work with here. These 3 things here, what are they? Oh, these 3 things are this whole series of sketches here. For example, let's put these together side by side here. What we're doing here, there's the first pass I did right there, Terjol. There it is. And we'll put these right next to it. Hopefully we get most of them in the frame here. These sketches, the premise on today's program on Twitch is we're looking at potentially developing a series of cosmetic changes to iPhones. These are they could be cases, they could be appliques, it could be changing the glass surface, putting more shape or crown into it, putting more taper in the form itself. So these are all iPhone conceptual sketch rendering studies about possibilities of changes for future generations of iPhones. So oftentimes we'll go through a series of passes. For example, when we go through these sketches, for example, we'll start here. We'll go through a series of elevation studies, what it looks like in maybe just in pure profile, what it looks like a little bit of 1-point perspective, into 2-point perspective, just walking around the shape, looking at different ways to break the graphics up. For example, iPhone's very flat. Obviously, there are very things that are difficult to deal with, but there's no limitation in terms of as time goes on, the advancement of technology. We could get transferred glass, we could get formed glass, we could start adding holographic work or detail and color changes, etc. So that's what we're looking at here today, Terajol. These are concept sketches on the next generation of what if iPhone begins to change the format just a little bit. How can we look at certain ways to break the surfaces up? So there's the first sketch we did, family of 6 sketches. Then we just finished this plate where we just did a series of maybe a family of studies on looking at what that iPhone might look like in terms of new graphics or new shape and so forth. Does that help to clarify it for you there, Terajol? Hopefully. Let me know if that's okay. If not, I'll do the best I can to keep it going here for you. Yeah, those are all from the back side, so to speak. It's yeah, that's absolutely correct. It's looking at pretty difficult to go ahead and look at the front side of the glass itself. We could do that, but it might require some form changes or glass forming and so forth. These are all cases that could be applied to the back side or graphic changes to the back side of the actual phone itself. Then we put the skin on top of that. So you're absolutely correct. Yes. All set? Very good, thank you. I'm glad we clarified that for you. Let's see, Chip 7, he's done similar shape studies with Dremels, pencil sharpeners, and a bunch of, yeah, it's just a whole variety of product work. If you go back to, in fact, Terajol, when we're done here today, if you want to go back through and look at, I'm on YouTube under Dr. Contrast. There's a whole series of things, everything from Star Citizen stuff, transportation, product design work, architecture, interior space, some teaching lessons and so forth. All that's part of the process that I've been involved in for the last, about 6 or 7 months since I've been on Twitch. So there's a second sketch right there. So let's go back and do another pass here. Let's get what we've got here. Let's go back and look at these guys. What happens if we start to go back and look at this? Again, real loose sketches. Just framing it in. Into the radius. Real quick sketches. Turn it around a little bit. Through it. Let's go back in again here. Real fast, real quick sketches here. Just laying out some shapes and forms. We'll come back in and detail them a little bit. Once again, really quick passes with the marker. Not getting a lot of detail in place here. Just really kind of going through the whole process. Hey, Pixel, how you doing? Everything going okay? Super. Thanks for joining us, Pixel. Just getting started here. Going back into that YouTube. Yeah, very good. Thanks, Sarah Joel. Then we go back in here. We're doing some little studies here today, Pixel, on just what happens, for example, if we could do some potential graphic changes to iPhones, just maybe the case studies, or maybe some of the actual, not the actual glass change, very restrictive form to really to deal with, but nonetheless, could be a lot of fun to actually see what could happen here with. Let's kind of go back in here and put a bunch of graphics in this guy. Some cosmetic changes to the back of the actual form itself, maybe some changes in the material we use, color and so forth. Just getting into some more of a interesting approach to the design process here without getting a lot of violation. We don't have a lot of room to work with. We've got a very specific tight window glass and so forth, hard to work with, but nonetheless, just interesting things to deal with regard to, let me get a marker here. Am I 1, 2, yeah, number 5 gray. Let's kind of knock this surface down just a bit. Into the billet. Take this around the bend. And again, just a couple little changes up on top here to kind of work with. Let's kind of flood this through. Come back and catch a little bit of detail in a second. A bit of tone through the middle of this thing. Come back and draw a little bit more. Real loose at first, real nice and easy. Get the form in place, and come back and put more drawing definition in this guy. Let's kind of nail this thing down just a little more. Just keeping him nice and lucid, and very non-committal, but at the same time, looking for shape. Let's see if we can get a number 5 gray in here. It's going to knock this thing down a little bit more. There you go. Again, just really fast, lucid little sketches here. Here we go there. Chip, what do you got here? Got a run doc, catch you later. So which parts could be made out of which material? Hey, thanks very much, Chip, for joining forces here today. Thank you so much. And to answer your question, Terajol, which parts could be made out of which materials? You can go back into, for example, in a case such as this, with some metal stampings and the like, and forging certain things, or it could be a carbon fiber process, which you're looking at here with a little bit like cap insert. The case could be made out of, again, a stamping piece, and a combination cold mold with some soft areas, for example, some grips or grip. Variety of areas to work with in terms of putting that all together. So these are really exploratory pieces looking at what we could do with shape changes in addition to material changes to make these things run a little bit more and give a little more fluid or a little more interest to the case itself and some identity. So I hope that answers your question. Does that make sense for you? Hopefully. Here we are. A little more color in this guy. A little bit of sky change. And last but not least, just kind of finish it out here with a nice little series of get this guy to work here. Very simple, very slim. This is a little bit more delicate. Much more, just a little bit more of a line study here, actually. Terajol, there it is. Just got that number 3 gray and just kind of pull this off very lightly here. A bit of an offset in this thing. Detail a little bit more. Let's go back and put a little shadow on this thing and settle it. That number 3 gray, we're just gonna put a little more tone in this thing. Shadow side down, get that core to work through a little bit more, and that highlight to run through it. And that, up on top, more reflected light. And there it is, there's a family of Let's see, watching you draw is so relaxing. Hey, thank you very much, Terajol. So it makes sense. Thanks. Watching you draw. It's just, to me, drawing to me is a very therapeutic process here, Terajol. I mean, I work very quickly, obviously, because especially with marker, as I said in the beginning of the stream here, when you're working with markers, it's extremely volatile to deal with. And if you're not careful, you get caught up, for example, in certain things that are just really, you slow it all down, it becomes muddier. If you build into it, it's just unnecessary. So I like to work quickly because, the thoughts are going through your head about do this, try that, adjust that, and so on. All these things begin to take place very rapidly. So the drawing process to me is extremely fluid. It's extremely exciting. I think what I always enjoy about the drawing process is the unknown. You start with a theme, you begin to look at certain things and begin to see certain things unfold, and it takes you on a different journey all the while, and it's very motivational. To me, drawing is not only just relaxing, it's extremely inspiring. I've spent 48 years in the business, coming out of General Motors design staff, and I learned from some of the best, like Sid Mead, Homer Lagasse, good grief, Alex Tremulous, on and on the names go. Jordan, I mean, I could go on forever, but the people I work with Ferrari, all kinds of individuals, tremendous. They all said one thing in common: when you draw, think of the other person in mind. Who's your audience? What do they expect? What are they beginning to see from your work? And if they see a soul in it and inspiration, and that's what it's all about, inspiring others. That's why I'm here today on Twitch. And that's why I'm glad you joined us, Terajol. I'm really pleased to have you on board. Hope you're having fun with this. Are you having fun? Well, I just tone this background in, we'll be all set to go. But a toner to separate background from foreground. Let's take this into a bit of a shadow drop here. How's that? So there we are. There's a family of forms to work with here. Let me just sign this guy. So there we are, gang. Just a little exploratory series of sketches here. Total of maybe 6, 9, 15 sketches on just looking at possibilities of making some changes to cases or backs of iPhones, or maybe some time to come. Maybe it's potential changes in glass and the like, and forming the forms, making the forms itself. So let's kind of go back through a review here. We started with this. That was the first pass of sketches we did, just looking at some very quick little theme studies on how to get this, how this thing really begins to unfold, looking at ideation, very rapid, quick sketches. I mean, to me, when you draw or sketch an idea, it should really be bursting into a concept. Just burst into it. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be right. Just look at it from the point of view, what am I going to learn from this? So these are the first pass at looking at potentially breaking up the shape, a little bit of a dart, a little bit of color change, potential texture as well. I'm glad you're enjoying Dr. C's work. Hey, thanks very much, Pixel. Good to have you. I'm glad you're still there. Hope you're doing well. So these are the things that begin the process. What's the search all about? What's the journey? What's the adventure all about? I think that's the thing that's great about drawing. What's the adventure all about? What are you going to end up with? So there's plate 1. Then we went from there into a little more specific in getting some of these very delta-like surface changes in the actual phone itself. Maybe it's a case, texture change, material change, adding color. Maybe it's an automotive series. That'd be cool to do an automotive series on iPhones, for example, like Bentley, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, where you actually do a piece like this, and then you put a little cloisonné piece right in the middle of that thing, so it identifies you as your cell phone for your Bentley or whatever. That'd be great. Maybe I'll do another series on that tomorrow. That'd be kind of fun. So there we are. That's another pass at some texture changes and material changes and the like. Then the last one we did was just a little variation and difference in theme, a little more vertical, a little more geometric in this case, then back to something a little more sculptural. So all that to say that it's really been an enjoyable time here today, folks, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And Terajol, if you're still there, feel free to visit my website. I have a drawing program, a digital drawing program at my site called drcontrast.com. If you go there, you'll see a series of 9 lessons on basic drawing, from perspective studies into form studies, into light source and so forth. It's a very simple, inexpensive 9-lesson plan. So please take a look at at drcontrast.com, and let me know what you think. And I hope I'll have you on board tomorrow when I go back again live at 2:30 and go through some things, some sketch rendering material again. And if you have any questions, by the way, Terjol, feel free to drop me a note. My email address is jim@drcontrast.com. It'd be great to hear from you. And again, visit my website. I think you'll find it enjoyable. And above all else, go take a peek at it. Let me know what you think about it. And hopefully I'll be able to help you in some case. 2:30, which time zone? Time zone is Eastern Standard Time. 2:30. And whereabouts are you located, Terjol? Where are you coming in from? Excellent. I just want to make sure Eastern Standard Time. Yep, that's right. Eastern Standard Time. And you are from where? Oh, Switzerland. My goodness, is that right? Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Geez, that's exciting. So thanks so much for joining us here. So please feel free to join us tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'd be more than happy to welcome you again. And it's been great to have you on board. Again, once again, look at my website, drcontrast.com. And if I've said something right here today, please tell me, folks. And if I've done something wrong, please tell me. And if there's something you want me to draw or work on, Terjol, or other individuals tuning in, let me know. Just really, I can take some input on what to draw, what the lessons might look like, what you want to study, what you want to see done. I'll do the best I can to get it there and for you. So again, thank you so much, Terjol and everybody else. Pixel, it's great to have you on board as always. I'm glad you're doing well. We'll try to chat sometime throughout the course of the week here and get you caught up. And I'm going to get caught up with you as well. So, and Terjol, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know it's 5 or 6 hours time difference out there. Terrific, excellent, really great. Yeah, feel free to Discord as well, Terjol. That's great. So all the best to you, gang. Thanks so much for joining in today. You know, I always leave this with a thought here that sometimes we have a few others posting art. It's really interesting, very interesting for me to say this in closing for all of you concerned. And thank you for tuning in today. I've always stated this, and it's the best part of the whole stream, and because I sincerely believe it with all my heart. Never forget to dare to be great, because you are. Excellent. Thank you, gang. Take care and all the best. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 2:30. Thanks again, Terjol. All the best to you out there in Switzerland, and take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye now.